Hello, this is Coach Tim Campsell, and I'm the host of Self-Made is a Myth, Make a Difference Together show. And we're talking with successful business owners to hear their stories of the journey to building their business. And because we know that achieving success in business is not something we can do on our own, we recognize the folks that helped us excel. I'm excited to have a fellow Indiana business owner from the logistics and supply industry with us today. My guest is the owner of Dronedeck, located in Indianapolis. He has owns a number of patents and is changing the last mile of logistics for good. Please join me in welcoming Dan to the show today.
Hey, Tim, thanks a lot. And thanks for everybody for checking it out. Thank you, guys.
Awesome, Dan. So let's start with having you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit of your personal story.
Thank you. I'm Dan OToole. I'm 58 years old. I was born in Chicago Heights, Illinois. And my dad got relocated when I was about 3 years old to Indiana. I pretty much grew up in Noblesville, Indiana. Went to Ball State University, graduated in '86. I've been married 33 years. Got 4 children. My oldest son's 32. He lives in Florida, and he's got my first two and only two grandchildren. I have a new grandson that's about 5 days old right now, so that's exciting. And he has his own electrical contracting business. He's very successful. My son Reese lives in Chicago. He's 31 years old. He works for Oracle. And then my daughter Laura, she's 22 and graduated from IU this past May, and she took a job with DRONEDEK, actually, executive vice president of business development. And then I have a 16-year-old son that goes to Carmel High School, and he's a little hockey player. So I've got a great family, and I'm so blessed. I love my family.
Fantastic. So congratulations on being a grandpa. No, so what do they call you? Are you granddad, grandpa? What's your name?
I'm grandpa. That was a big challenge when wanted to come up with something unique. And I'm half Italian, actually, and I looked up Italian, and it's Poppy. So I came up with I'd be Poppy, and then I said to my wife, "You're going to be Poopy." So so that didn't go over too well. So I'm back to grandpa, and she's grandma.
Wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
again, congratulations. And you live in Noblesville as well. So do I. We'll have to grab some coffee sometime.
I actually live in Carmel, but I'm actually going to be back toward Noblesville sometime here. So
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. Let's do it, man.
Fantastic. So any funny stories that your family likes to tell about you?
I can't, nothing really comes to mind. I mean, my whole life is a comedy, really. I mean, I'm always doing something crazy. I think that's kind of what defines me. And so I'm sure that there's a lot of behind the scenes joking, right?
Yeah.
But my motto has always been, you throw enough shit at the wall, something's going to stick. So,
I love it.
so I always say, by the time you thought about it, I did it. I make an assessment, and I act very deliberatively and quickly. And I think that's the real, trick to success, right?
So to that point, Dan, tell us, how the business came about, and at what point did you have the confidence that you could run the business on your own?
Sure. Well, I'm not sure I do have the confidence to do. No, I'm just kidding. But I've always been an entrepreneur, Tim. Really, since I graduated Ball State, I've essentially done my own thing to a large extent. And one thing I learned along my journey is, I've had a lot of ideas. I try to think outside the box, and always try to figure out how things can be done differently, or why is it done that way. Or so along that journey, I've had the occasion to actually try to patent some items, and I do have a previous patent, but there's a couple times where I had an idea for like a new remote control, and it turned out that when I went to get the patent, Sony had just beaten me by a month on that idea. And I had an idea for a medical device, and I went to get that, and General Motors had just beaten me by a few months on that. So what I learned is, really, when one person has an idea, 10 people have that same idea at the same time, and it really becomes a race of execution. So when I had this idea back in 2014 for Dronedeck, which is the next generation mailbox for drone, autonomous, and conventional delivery, I ran to the patent office, and then I waited 3 years to see if my patent was going to issue. That's how long it took, and then it did issue. And when it issued, it revealed that I had literally beaten Amazon by 9 days. I'd beaten the post office by 2 weeks. I'd beaten another company by 22 days. So my
Oh,
theory that I
wow.
learned along the way, I was able to learn that lesson and apply it. And that's how I was able to get the Dronedeck patents. So really fortunate in that regard.
Wow, that is amazing. So tell us a little bit more about Dronedeck.
Yeah, Dronedeck, it's the next generation mailbox. We're consolidating all delivery to one point, which would be drone delivery, autonomous driverless vehicle delivery, robotic delivery, and conventional delivery. We have 111 patent claims that we've either filed for or have been awarded, including like a heated and cooled cargo area, notifications. Every drone deck has a charging station built into it to charge EVs and commercial drones.
Hmm.
We have a 911 alert feature. If you have an emergency at your house, you get on your Dronedeck app, you hit the 911 icon. It says police, fire, ambulance. You pick the service. If you need fire, you press that. It sends an automated dispatch to the fire department. At the same time, your drone deck starts strobing red and white lights. So when first responders come in your neighborhood, they can readily identify your house and hopefully save lives. So, a lot of features. We're just really, everything's really lining up well for us with, you know, coronavirus, social distancing, people getting more deliveries, people being displaced, people embracing technology of ordering online where before they didn't want to do those kind of things. And then trying to be carbon neutral by 2050, reducing greenhouse gases, taking vehicles off the road. In addition, we're speeding up time of delivery, convenience, freshness, and we're lowering costs. It's substantially lower to deliver autonomously than conventionally. So this is our moment. We're really excited about it. Total addressable market for Drone Deck is 160 million addresses.
Wow.
We want to be the gateway to every home and business in the country, and we're just really excited about where we are right now.
Wow. So totally changing the landscape. How long has it been since the mailbox has been significantly changed?
The mailbox hasn't been disrupted since March 9th of 1858. And
Oh,
yeah, how
wow.
about that? And that's my grandmother. I love my grandma. She's gone now, but she was born on March 9th. So I feel like there's some synchronicity there that was the date. So she's up there helping me do this. Uh, so that's us.
And so will the drone deck be in the same location as the mailbox and replace the mailbox, or what's the vision there?
That's a good question. There's all kinds of, you got HOAs, historic areas, all these kind of things, right? When you're getting items delivered through an aerial drone, you can put that in your backyard. It could be a roof hatch on your building or your home. It could be a balcony, patio, porch. But you do get the most utility at street side because we're consolidating all delivery. Conventional, that's how they come. Robotic, that's how they come. Unmanned driverless vehicle. So it just makes sense if you can put it on your street side. That's where the most utility is. But that doesn't stop you from putting it in the backyard. We have all these patents, all these different configurations in our patents. Drone deck could even be a vault in the ground that would raise and lower, and you wouldn't even know it was there. So we're working on several iterations, and the user will be the final determinant of that.
Very cool. So, Dan, when do you feel like this is going to start rolling out? Has it already started rolling out? Where are you guys at in your life cycle?
I'm sorry, my nose is itching. We've gone through several iterations of prototyping, and we're now receiving our first production units, and we're set to start deploying those this year. Q2 of this year through the end of the year, we'll have hundreds of units out by the end of the year, and we're doing all through piloting programs, and then we're taking what we learn from those and implementing that into our future development. So that's what we're doing.
Very exciting. Well, congratulations on that. Can't
Thanks,
wait to
Tim.
see one in my front yard.
Can't wait to see one in your yard either, man.
So Dan, tell us about someone who's pushed you or inspired you that you could do it, maybe even when you thought you couldn't, and what was the impact that they've had on you as in terms of your own personal growth and development?
Sure. Well, it almost sounds corny or cliche because I'm going to say my wife, but the reality is, it is my wife, and I tell her this all the time. First of all, I love my wife, and she's always been the motivating beacon in my life, and I've always wanted to go out and do well for my wife. So, and that's just inherent, hopefully, in any relationship. But beyond that, um, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a huge risk taker, and
Mhm.
I've done some of the craziest things, and I gotta say, if my wife were sitting on me or really holding me back, I wouldn't have done 90% of the things I did. And she always gave me enough rope to hang myself. Luckily, knock on wood, things worked out more times than not,
Yeah.
but not every time. But she never held that over my head, and that gave me the latitude and freedom to continue to do the things I've done, and it's worked out well. So it's you got to have a great partner, and they have to be supportive. Otherwise, you're afraid to take those risks, and it changes your life.
Yeah.
So so at the risk of sounding cliched and corny, I have to say my wife,
Well,
Stacy.
I love your cliche and corny. So Stacy, thank you for all that you've done. It made me think of, my wife. She said when I was exploring to start this business, the question she asked me was, in 5 years from now, will you regret not doing it if you don't? I can appreciate, having that support and that encouragement and life partner is huge
It's
when we're,
everything. Yeah,
yeah.
to your point right there, Tim, I always say I wouldn't trade any of my failures for not knowing. One of the other motivating factors that I've always had is this vision of being 80 years old, sitting in a cubicle, working for somebody else, maxed out, right? And thinking to myself, I wonder what would have happened if I tried that one idea. For me, I'm leaving it all out on the court. I'm trying everything, and then I wouldn't trade one failure for not knowing. I don't ever want to second guess or wonder. I want to know, and that's worth everything, right?
Way to go. That is awesome. I think that I love that idea of don't leave anything back. I think a lot of people do that. They're risk adverse. So love to hear that Stacy's a big supporter of you. So Dan, what's the biggest learning that you've had as a business owner?
You know, uh, I hate to say it, but and it's not really the right mindset to have. But if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. And I hate throwing that out there, but there's so many times where you know there's a reason that there's people that are entrepreneurs, and then there's people that aren't, right? And I like to think that I know a vision of what I'm trying to accomplish, and a lot of times you just get let down when you rely on somebody. Nobody's as resourceful or vision oriented as you are with that vision, whatever that is, and whomever you are. And so I don't like saying that, and it's probably not the right message. I'm not trying to send a negative, but you just got to surround yourself with great people that have that same mindset, that have their eye on the prize with you, and that bring the inertia. If you're in a group and you're the one that is providing all the inertia, and if you stop, it stops, you really probably don't have anything. And that's one of the biggest things I've noticed around Dronedeck. We have a really good team, and there's meetings happening every day with or without me, and
Mhm.
there's so much frothiness that happens. And I think that's just one of the big lessons, is you got to put people that are self starters, people with initiative, that can carry the ball, grab the vision, and go, and be like and that's hard to find, but when you do find it, you can do a lot, and that's where we are at Dronedeck.
Awesome. I think that idea of, the especially with new to the world ideas like drone deck, if you're not continually reinforcing and painting the picture of what's in your mind, right, it is hard for other people to grasp it. And so you do have to continue to be in front of folks, right, until you've gotten it seeded enough that people start to pick up on it and can tell the story themselves.
That's right, and you can't be goaded if or whatever. You can't just be complicit hearing what other people think it should be and going with that. If you have a real vision and you're trying to get somewhere, you need to stand up for that vision and make sure that you get that far enough along, to your point, where it's cemented, and then it starts to go on its own inertia or momentum. But so that that's really important.
So Dan, we know that business success doesn't happen in isolation. So tell us about your biggest challenge throughout the years, and a fellow business owner that maybe came alongside of you and helped you out or helped you get through it, or was there to give you some good advice?
Well, every business has its own set of challenges, right? Not everything's as easy as everybody always thinks it is. So, for me personally, I mentioned that I've been an entrepreneur my whole career, and I've faced capital is always a small company. You always need capital, receivables coming in, all those challenges. Yeah, and I was fortunate enough to have a really good friend of mine join my business some years ago. He's passed away since, which is really sad. In fact, a few days ago was his anniversary of his passing. But he came in and he could just will things and put things on his back and really take no prisoners kind of an attitude. And he really revalidated my belief in the power of positive thinking and just there's nothing we can't do. I always one of my big pet peeves is when somebody comes in my office and says, hey, we have a problem. It's very sobering, right? When somebody comes in and their first thing is, hey, we have a problem. Or when you come in and you say, hey, we can't do this. Yeah, that to me, if people are reaching out to you for the solution, you can't have the problem. You have to have that solution.
Right.
And so I like to approach everything from a really positive, how are we going to do this? We're going to go over it, under it, through it, around, whatever. And we figure out a resourceful way to make it happen. And so, Tom Wynn is my buddy's name that I'm referring to. And Tom really just, kind of everything I had believed I saw in him. And it resonated so strongly between the two of us. And I think that just really galvanized my thinking even stronger than it was at that point. So he's a great example of what you're asking about there.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. If you had to pick three people across your entire business journey that had the most impact on you, or you're the most grateful for in terms of how they helped your business growth, who would those folks be?
You know, the list is a really long list, right? I mean, and I couldn't really even limit it to a few people. I mean, I feel like it's somebody accepting an Emmy or an Oscar, right? You don't want to leave one person out, right?
Right.
Of course, my mom and dad. My parents. They were self-employed. My dad's 94, my mom's 87. They're still alive, and they've been a great inspiration. Entrepreneurs, and I
Mhm.
saw the struggles firsthand and how they dealt with them, and that made a big impact on me. My wife again, and then even my kids, my two oldest sons. Um, Went to entrepreneurship. They graduated with an entrepreneurship degree from Ball State, and they're both out there doing great things. And even though they're younger and they're my kids, they're still great inspirations for me, because I remember, what I was aspiring to do at that age, and I've seen them accomplish so much, and that just is amazing in my daughter. But then, I've got several friends that are entrepreneurs that have always been sounding boards for me. We get together and I entrepreneurs love we love to brainstorm and bounce ideas off each other. You love to hear the human interest side of what they're up to and see how you can help be a solution for
Yeah.
what they're doing, and vice versa. So I have some great relationships like that where I always sound ideas off my buddies, and we go back and forth. And then you've got the people that have made it big in the world, that the Elon Musks, and you look at what these guys are doing and try to study how they do things, and maybe there's some nugget there that you can pick up along the way. My lawyer, just the list is endless, and I just don't want to leave anybody. I don't want anybody to ever see this and say, hey, why didn't you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? I love everybody. You guys
Yeah.
are all great.
Well, I love how you answered that question, because that's the essence of this show, right? Is that there are multiple people in our lives who have helped us to get to where we are. So I couldn't have asked you to answer that question any better. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Tim. On my head, I might as well stop right there.
Right. All right. So thinking about the future, if you were to look out over the next 3 to 5 years, what are the biggest challenges you're going to face in reaching your goals, and who are the type of people that you're going to need in your circle to help solve those?
Well, that's a great question. first of all, there's always some circumstance or obstacle out there that you don't know about, right? So that's one. And the thing about Drone Deck is it's really a revolutionary, kind of futuristic idea. When I came up with the idea, people thought I was crazy, even my mom. And I came up with this little mantra that if you have a futuristic idea and people don't think you're crazy, you're too late, right?
Right.
So I've got that. But when I first started this, I thought the two of the biggest obstacles that I would run into would be um, obviously capital, and then a willingness from municipalities to
Mm.
allow rollout of drone deck units. There's always so many onerous restrictions and regulations, right? So what I was really pleasantly surprised about is every community wants to be the first drone deck community. So
Oh,
that's exciting. Yeah, yeah. Mayors and leaders, they want to deliver state of the art, cutting edge features and benefits to their constituency, and that's a victory for them. So we're actually helping their cause, and that was really that really turned out to be great. And then raising capital, people really have seen the drone deck vision, and they understand it, and they really have bought into it. An example of that is we recently completed a crowdfunding raise on a platform called WeFunder, where we became the highest valuation pre-revenue company to ever successfully crowdfund in the history of crowdfunding.
wow.
So that's a big statement, right? I mean, so we've got nearly 5,000 investors. In the last 12 months, we've raised $7 million, and we're excited about where we are. So those are two of the things I thought were going to be problems, but didn't really turn out to be. And we've got some other funding things going, so that's cool. But I think our biggest obstacle, one is we aerial drone delivery is depending on federal aviation authority standards and regulations. And I always say we're not the drone, we're the drone deck, but we do have a stake in making sure that drone delivery happens on a wholesale rollout basis. So we monitor very closely the FAA, and we're ready for them to lift the restrictions so that can start happening. So that's a risk of execution. The other one is I think when we start going to market, you know, um, we're going to probably give drone deck units away uh, for a limited period of time when we roll out to saturate and blanket markets.
Yeah.
And I think when we start doing that, people are going to see that, and everybody's going to want a free drone deck. And so, and I think that we have the the problem or issue potentially of getting ahead of ourselves. If we have people from all over the country saying, "Hey, we want to be the drone deck community," we
Mm.
may get caught up in that grasping of and just get ahead of ourselves in execution. And I think that could be a failure if we don't do that in a very deliberative way. So you know and then there's always things like supply chain, the sensors that you can't get right, all those kind of things. Who knows? So we take every day, one day at a time.
Yeah.
I'll try to think about those issues, but we just the best thing is just to be resourceful and have a plan for when something does happen. Right? Don't panic. Don't freak out. Figure out how we're going to accomplish the same thing and move quickly to do that.
I love that the deck or the drone deck has so many different ways to accept deliveries. So you're not handcuffed if the FAA doesn't allow delivery by drone in the immediate future. You've got so many different options and usability of the platform that allows you to get around some of these challenges in the short term. Is that fair?
Yeah, it is. Thank you. Yeah, we say, we're not the drone, we're the drone deck. We stand tall, rain, shine, day or night. If you can get it to us, we can accept it. And that's what we do. And we're just making it a better way to receive. You can ship or receive with the drone deck. You know, when we're all rolled out, we actually have 5 revenue streams. Nobody can buy a drone deck. You can only subscribe to it, much like an Amazon Prime. Residential user for $15 a month can get the drone deck and the app. And then we have you know, charging, we can charge EVs, drones, bird or lime scooters, things like that. So if Amazon drone lands on your drone deck, and takes a charge, you're paying that electric bill. So we're going to debit Amazon, credit you, and take a small brokerage fee in the process. And then we've got big data. We're able to harvest all kinds of big data metrics, and then other ancillary things like advertising and traffic counting and all these other kind of things. So we're excited about rolling it out and just being able to contribute to the fabric of your life in so many ways.
Yeah, awesome. So Dan, Jim Rohn, I'm a big Jim Rohn fan. One of his quotes is, "We become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with." So as you think about that and reflect on your business, is that something that excites you or makes you nervous? What's your perspective there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's almost a self-fulfilling answer because everybody chooses who they're hanging out with, and and you're doing that for reasons that are typically probably not derived to look back and say, "Oh, this is who I'm gonna be because I'm with these 5 people," right?
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, family is always first. I've got, I think I said how much I love my family and how I value them, so I hang out with my family a lot. I've got some great friends. Most of my group are entrepreneurs. I think that's pretty typical. And hobby wise, I like to gamble a little bit. I play backgammon or some blackjack or whatever. So I've got some buddies that we all get together pretty frequently, and play, work hard, play hard, right?
Yeah.
I always say work hard, play harder. So I'm not a drinker. I don't smoke or anything, but I like to hang out with my buddies, and we'll watch some football games or just do things like that.
Sure.
Um, and everybody, everybody's pretty much successful, and you like to get with those kind of guys and just trade stories, trade experiences, ask questions. I'm just joining a CEO group right now that offers a lot of that as well. So I'm looking forward to kicking that off. That's going to be exciting.
Fantastic. So last question here. If there was something catastrophic that happened in your business today, who's the first person you call and what would that conversation be?
The thing about the first thing I always say is that the company, I like to set it up in a way that it could perpetuate itself. And that means even if I'm gone, everybody's replaceable. I've been through a lot. I've lost employees to death and other things, some key employees. So, the organization's bigger than any one person, which is great. I think the key is trying to determine what those things could be upfront and what your contingencies are to deal with them rather than being frantic and emotional in that moment. And that goes a long way. But if I did have something like that, I would obviously talk to my wife. And then I've got a great team, you know, of just leaders in my business that we would huddle up and figure out, what our strategy was going to be. I think we have really all walks of corporate life are represented on our inner circle, from legal, strategy, accounting, yes, managerial, commercial real estate, all those kind of things. So we got a great team with a lot of experience, and I think that just relying and leaning on those team members to come up with a great solution is what I would do.
Awesome. So Dan, you mentioned something that rings in my ears is the idea of redundancy. So one of the things that we preach all the time is a successful business is one that can truly run without the business owner. So sounds like you've built your business with that philosophy in mind. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Nobody's bigger than the company. And I think the other thing is just being really pragmatic about, I know that I'm probably not going to be the guy leading Dronedeck in, the next 20 years or whatever, right? And you can't hold a company back, and you can't be such an ego person. You have to look at everything from a realistic eye, and you have to be willing to accept whatever those things might be. And I think that if you're not doing that, you're just not being really straight with yourself or people that are affiliated with your company. And I know that right now for Dronedeck, being the visionary of the idea and being a guy that cares about everybody that put even $1 into this company, I know that I'm the right guy right now to be leading it. But that's not to say in the future I want to hand that baton off, because I don't want to hold the company back either, right?
Right.
So, this is my moment. and I'm enjoying every minute of it. And I can't wait to see what the next moment's going to be.
Awesome. So Dan, it sounds like you've been blessed with some incredible people along your journey. If they were all here on this podcast today, what would you like to say to them?
Say, hey, I love you guys, because I do. I think that's my superpower, is my ability to love. God's given me a great capacity for that, and I truly value and appreciate, and I celebrate everybody, whether your position is different than mine. I celebrate that. I love contrasting viewpoints. I love thinking through things. I love support, and if you're true to me in the company, as I know you are, then that's what I value and appreciate more than anything. And I try to give that back too. I think that's the true value of being that person to somebody, is to give. I would say there's two ways to say something: a right way and a wrong way. I tell my kids that, right? You can convey the same message two different ways, right, Tim? So and I value that. So those are the people. I love them and I value them, and that's why they're in my inner circle, my 5 people, right?
Awesome. Dan, it has been a true pleasure speaking with you today. You are such a humble person, and there's this misbelief, right, that successful people aren't humble, right? You are a down-to-earth, regular, awesome dude. So I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you today, and wish you tremendous success in all of your adventures, and look forward to having that drone deck on at the end of my driveway.
Tim, thanks a lot for those kind words, especially. That is very humbling and flattering, man. I really appreciate that, and I'm honored that you would ask me to come on with you today. Thanks for that, and I do want to grab that cup of coffee in Noblesville with you sometime.
Absolutely. Sounds awesome. All right. So for everyone who tuned in, thanks for listening to the Self-Made is a Myth show with your host, Coach Tim Campsell. Be sure to help us spread this movement by liking the show and post it on social media. To join our movement, you can go to bemadtogether.com. All right, folks, that's a wrap. Make sure to pay it forward, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.